Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Karen Reborn. Kindly, if you're new here, ensure that you subscribe to my channel. Ensure that after pressing the subscribe button, press the notification button and you will be updated on any new video that I will upload. So today I'm going to go direct and analyze a book that is the narrative, the slave narrative by Equiano, Olaudah. And this is a slave narrative. Actually, it's the autobiography of Equiano that is written about his experiences in slavery and how everything really took place during the time that he was a slave. Now, the book begins by Equiano introducing us to the cultures, the African culture that he was. You must first know that Equiano was an African who was later kidnapped and taken into slavery. So when the book begins, it begins with Olaudah Equiano telling us about the culture, about the African culture, and how they used to perform things in their culture that is in Africa. Equiano first of all tells us the story of first introduces us to the wedding ceremonies that were performed in their culture. Equiano introduces us to the incidences that happened that showed the value of life. They valued life so much in their culture, and at some point he introduces us to an incident that occurred, the issue of poisoning, that at some point a virgin could be poisoned. Someone poisoned a virgin, and after poisoning this virgin, the virgin died. And because of this and the value of life in this community, they decided that we are going to do a test. The magicians actually, they did a test that was meant to test whoever poisoned this girl. And through what the magicians did, it really came out that the person who killed or rather poisoned this virgin was now known. They came to know her or him. So this is what they used to do. After the death of a virgin, they would take the magician would take a coffin. They walk around the coffin in the whole village, surrounding everywhere that they will go, with the coffin at the shoulder, putting it on the shoulder, and with it on the shoulder, they could storm around the villages, the houses, the rooms, and whenever the coffin will fall or bring destruction, there's a house that the owner poisoned this girl. So this is what they did at the first incident, and the owner of that house really came out and confessed that I'm the one who killed this lady. So the community, they were so much concerned, and they really couldn't believe that all this was the truth. So they decided that, okay, what we're going to do, why can't we just let some different people who are not magicians, or rather are not connected to you, to perform the ritual by holding the coffin and walking around with the same coffin, to show that what you're doing is really genuine. And the same was repeated with different people holding the coffin, and it came out that the same result were found actually, and the person who killed the second person, the virgin, actually was now known and came out and confessed about the death of the lady through poisoning by him. Another incident which shows the value of life, that if I'm a seller, I'm supposed to sell you some food, any eatable stuff that I can sell in my shop. Before giving it to you, I must be forced to kiss it all around. I kiss, even if it's, let's say, maize, I have to kiss that maize all around before I give it to you, so that you can be assured that it's not poisoned. So this shows the value of life. So when we go back to the family, Equiano is born in a family where the father is the chief. They have some positions and they're working actually, and most of the time they could take it away from family, doing job elsewhere, and the children could be left at home. And even in their villages, according to Equiano, this slavery had begun even in Africa, because Africans could cooperate with these slave buyers and they could sell the slaves to the slave buyers. So it is a business that had started in this village, and they could see them. And because the father was a chief, that actually gave Equiano at least or let me call it some time to enjoy it, because the children could not be taken to slavery because the father has a position. So ironically, what happens now, it's so different, because the father is the chief. The children are supposed to be secured. No one will take them to slavery because the father has a position, holds a position. So the slave buyers could come. At some point, they kidnapped Equiano together with the sister when the parents were not at home. So they, okay, so the parents were away at work, and that is the time when the kidnappers came, and they kidnapped actually Equiano together with the sister, and they took them to slavery in the ship actually. And on the way, when they're taking them to the ship, which was to be used to transport them actually to the destination, to the buyer or to the owner actually of the slaves, that is when we find that Equianos, they saw a bunch of people coming ahead of them, and after seeing them, they thought that this is now the time that they are going to be rescued, and they began shouting for help. And that time, these kidnappers took a sack and actually put them inside that sack. And after that, they passed the bunch of people when they were so silent inside this big sack, because they didn't want to cause chaos. They didn't want these children, Equiano and the sister, to alert people of what was going on. And now they were taken inside the ship. And these slave buyers, actually the traders, what they could do after taking you to the owner was supposed to separate you. One of the characteristics or features in this slave narrative, to find that this the aspect of separation. You are separated from your family or anyone that you have some ties with them for the detachment. They want to detach you from your family or from anyone that you have ties with. So that is one of the characteristics that you will find in any slave narrative that you will get to learn. There is emotional detachment. You're first detached from your family or from anyone that you have some blood ties with. So immediately after they are captured, they're taken inside the ship, they're separated, and the sister goes with a different owner or buyer, the brother Equiano went with another slave owner, that is Captain Pascal. And now when they now went with Pascal, they're taken to the plantation. They could work there, because as a slave you're supposed to go there and serve there, and you work for them actually. So that is what Equiano would do as a slave. Now Equiano rises to speak about slavery because of the obstacles. Most of the time as slaves, they tried as much as possible to look for a way that they could escape into slavery, because it's something that is wanting, that no one wants to stay there, to have you are tied, you can't do, there's no freedom for expression, you are tied in that position, there's nothing that you can do, you're just there to serve your master. So Equiano tried, and at some point Equiano was planning escapes, and they could not work because these people were so insecure, and they could come looking for you. They could search everywhere. And there's an incident when Equiano actually went and hid somewhere in the house, and everyone was alert and waiting for the time when any slave would disappear. And they began searching everywhere because they were alerted. They searched everywhere, through the bush and everywhere, and even where Equiano was, but they could not see him. But eventually he came out, and they knew that he didn't escape. And after so much time in slavery and trying to escape, which was not even bearing any fruit, at the end, Equiano decides to buy his freedom out. And to bring us back a little bit, in this slave narrative, Equiano was at some point taken to meet the sister, because there's a feature actually that before you reach the actual owner, your actual owner, you pass through a chain. There's a chain that goes, you pass through that chain. So during this time, Equiano passes through the chain of a slavery. At first point, Equiano is Okay, Equiano is bought severally with different people. From Parsley, he went to James, he went to Henry. Like Equiano is bought with so many honors, and you're just like a ball that is taken to another person. After this person, it's passed to the different person, or rather to the next person. So that is what happened in the life of Equiano. So at some point they met when Equiano was sold to a different buyer. They met with the sister, and during the time they met, it's like a wound which was actually trying to be healed is now revived, that it was now hurting, because this is someone that you've tried yourself as much as possible to get yourself out of the situation, and now again your sister whom you are detached with, away from your family, is now coming back. You meet again, but without even allowing them to show the sibling is it the sibling love, or rather the love that they had at first, to express it to one another. Equiano was again taken to a different owner, and now there's a lot of detachment. You can see the detachment. You're not allowed time to show love to your loved ones, or rather to the family. And Equiano now goes to the different owner. And at that point, when Equiano is taken to a different owner, we also meet Equiano is an African, because he was taken to slavery when he was very young, at around 11 to 12 years. This is a kid, and he doesn't know even how to express himself in the language that everyone could understand. And now Equiano, because Equiano had these challenges, Equiano didn't know how he's going to get over this, and he meets Richard, who was very ready to teach Equiano how to read, how to write, and what have you. And when the master realized that Richard has begun teaching Equiano how he could write, how he could talk in a language that anyone could understand, the master now killed Richard. Richard is killed now. So you can imagine, Richard is dead now, and this is the person that has been teaching Equiano how to communicate. So Equiano has to fumble, but at least he could fumble with the language and people could understand him. So these slave owners could not allow these people to be educated, because they have a feeling that if you educate an African, then it means that they someday they will be enlightened, they will know a lot of things, and after the knowledge they will come, and the Europeans, or rather the whites, will be the slaves of African. They will be slaves to Africans. So they were against this issue of education. Even if you look in different narratives, you'll realize that they don't want any slave to learn about anything. They don't want them to have any knowledge at all. So it's a common feature in the narratives. And then finally we see that Equiano stands up and begins, after buying his freedom out of slavery and is now out of slavery, he decides to stand up and speak about slavery, writing in the form of writing his autobiography, telling us what happened in his life from childhood to adulthood, and how he bought freedom out of slavery. And at some point, after buying the freedom, the slave buyers threatened to take him again into slavery, which he escapes now back to a different place where they could now not be able to capture Equiano. So Equiano writes about this narrative. Actually, they were the great fighters that fought the slave trade, because after writing, a lot of people were enlightened. You find that there are some whites that are even there, but they don't know if such a thing happens somewhere. They don't know if there's something like slave trade or slave buying or what, or slave masters are existing, and there are the whites. So you can't really generalize it to all of them. But through the writing, they came to understand, and rather it made it the slave trade, it made it actually be publicized, to be known everywhere, and that is what led to abolition of slave trade, because writers like Equiano, Olaudah came up and wrote about their experiences, showing people what happened. And at the end, we see that there was actually the result that we can see. From reading this book, you'll get to realize that these slaves were treated in a certain way. They were allowed rights. They didn't have the freedom of expression. They could not express anything. They could not locate their places, their homes, because someone who is 11 to 12 years, when he was captured, shows that he cannot retrieve back his home. He cannot know the family, and probably maybe the family, all of them is dead, because now Equiano is writing when he was an adult, and maybe the parents are now dead. You are detached from them. You don't know where they are. You can never retrieve them, because you don't even know the direction to your place. So you can find this book, read this book, and you'll get to learn more about the slavery, the frequent floggings in the book, that how they treated their slaves. At some point, Equiano could not eat because of because he was hurt being separated from the sister. He could not be allowed some time with the sister, and Equiano could not allow even himself to take any food, because he even thought of death at times. When he could be taken to different places, he thought that today I'm going to die, today they're going to kill me. But they just flog you, they just beat you, they just disturb your emotions, but they don't kill you. That is what happened to Equiano. He desired even death at some point, and now because he refused to eat in the ship when he was being taken away from the sister, that is why they now beat you. Like, they beat you for no reason, they flog you for no reason. That is how slaves were treated. So if you're new here, ensure that you subscribe to my channel, ensure that you watch my videos, and ensure that after subscribing you press the notification button so that you can be alerted every time I post a new video. And finally, ensure that you like my video, share my video, leave a comment after watching, and then propose a book that you want me to analyze, and I shall be at your back. I shall read the book, analyze the book, so that you can know more about it, even if you have not read it. Thank you, and have a nice time. Bye.